Welcome to today's Q&A that I decided to do addressing the Mvsx Hylo X hack. I'm going to use this particular live stream as kind of a, I don't know, kind of an educational kind of forum, so to speak. If people in the chat would like to interact, this is going to be a live Q&A, and I will keep it going as long as there are participants. At this moment, I'd like to just simply point out that there's a lot of misconceptions about what Hylo X is, what Hylo X isn't, in relation to the Mvsx, the NEO-GEO Mvsx home arcade machine. So I'm hoping that people will be able to watch this video and find it informative. And I also want to address a couple of things. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening over the last couple of days with regards to this kind of stuff. So it'll be a good opportunity to to talk about a lot of these things. One of the first things I want to address is some of the criticisms I received from my previous live stream. I tried to tell a lot of people ultimately, because I was getting a lot of DMs and stuff, and people were commenting in the chat in regards to it, and in the comment section as well. And some people seem to be bothered by it. A lot of people wanted to go and come at me for calling out John D and for calling out Retro Ralph. And I told people, and I'm saying it now, that watch the entire live stream. Okay, before you make a judgment, watch the entire live stream. And if at the end of the live stream you still feel negatively towards me because of it, then I welcome the conversation. I want to have conversations with people. I want to have positive conversations with people. I don't live in an echo chamber, and I want to be able to talk to people who disagree with me, but I want the conversation to be constructive. I am totally open to constructive criticism. I have no issue with I have no issues with people I don't feel that can or cannot be resolved via a good conversation. Alex Prieto says that he agrees. Yes, I'm glad you agree. It's one of those things. I definitely feel like we are living in a time where it's very difficult to have a conversation and to agree or on something, to find common ground. So that's one of the things that I hope to accomplish when I do my live streams. That's why I always leave it open for people. I always extend the invitation for anybody to come on who wants to join the live streams, or in the chat. I'm always open to discussing things, because I think that that's very, very important, and that is missing in a lot of what we're dealing with today, regardless of what we're talking about. I mean, today I just happen to be talking about the Mvsx and the Hylo X hack and all the various things that are going along with that, but it's just a general thing that I'm noticing as a whole within the various communities, online and offline, and even in real life. It's like that now. If you disagree with someone, they want to totally disavow anything to do with you. They don't want to deal with you at all, just simply because you disagree. And I think that is a very negative way to look at things. And I think there's an easier way for people to communicate. So I'm just going to right now briefly reference the video that I did prior. Again, I came away from that live stream feeling great about the situation. I was satisfied with everything that Old Man Ruckus, aka Bill, talked about with me on the live stream. It was very informative, and he laid a lot of stuff out there, clarified a lot of the things with John D, cleared up a lot of things in relation to the whole Retro Ralph thing, and and I want to briefly reference Retro Ralph here too for a second, because him and I kind of had a little bit of a conversation behind the scenes, and I think him and I are okay. I think him and I, we kind of talked it out, and we both apologized to each other. So I think that that's something that was important to clarify. I did invite Retro Ralph to join me on a future episode of the ZodWriter show if he's available and would like to do that. That's something that hopefully maybe we can work out in the future. I'm open to being on friendly terms with everybody and being able to discuss things positively and move forward in a good way. So that's where we are when it comes to that that previous live stream. But I think I can begin now addressing the Hylo hack as a whole, as to what it is and what it isn't and what it has potential to be. It is basically a front end designed to allow users to emulate and play other arcade games through the Mvsx home arcade machine without actually altering the machine itself. It's all run through the USB stick, and it's a very simple hack. The Hylo team made it easy for you to get access to the files where you can download it. You can add your own ROMs and basically run it, and it runs on the Final Burn Alpha emulator, which is basically an arcade emulator that is an alternative to MAME. It doesn't necessarily run as many games as the multiple arcade machine emulator, but it's Final Burn Alpha is definitely a good emulation source in its own right. Neil Severa, welcome, man. Welcome to the chat. It's so great to see you here. He says, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, it's did you want to I was going to ask if you wanted to join me on like the panel, but you're more than, but this is fine. This is great that you're here. I deeply appreciate this. Having the hype man for the Hilo X here himself, and we have my good friend Old Man Ruckus. I welcome you with open arms, man. You are awesome. I swear to God, I love the Hylo team so much. These guys are just fantastic. And Old Man Ruckus, he did such a great job on my last live stream, just clarifying everything and kind of defusing me, because again, I was really, really angry when I did that live stream. When I started out, I had a lot of things that were just really bugging me, and by the end of it, I felt so much better, and I can't state that enough. It was one of the best live streams I ever came out of when I went in feeling kind of negative. And Derek Rickles, he says, you don't modify the kernel, I don't think. How is the Hylo X mod any different than, say, Auto Bleem for PS Classic? Yeah, there's no modifying in terms of, it all runs right off of the USB stick. That's why when you go on to the actual unit, when you turn it on with your USB stick inserted, you have the option of going into the regular UI, the Mvsx, or going into Hylo X as a separate thing. So it doesn't interfere with the main UI at all, which I think is awesome. It's like totally its own thing. It's like sharing the space, but not actually impacting the system at all. And it's very easy to install it, and it's also very, very simple to uninstall it. Okay, and we have here another chat here. You say, Old Man tried to answer this yesterday for me, but I'm still not quite sure of the difference yet. Take it easy on me. LOL. Well, again, having Old Man Ruckus here and Neil Sfera makes it easy to, easy to do these kinds of things if there's questions. I mean, you know, these are the people, you know, to get the answers from. Okay, and Ashley here says, let's see, we've got that's cool. I keep breaking it. How do you keep breaking it? Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Are you having issues when it comes to you know, adding your games, or is it just the hack in general? Okay, and we have chat here. I am not involved in the situation with ROMs and Hylo project. Can you explain what is going on in a short way? Okay, well, again, like I said, the Hylo hack is a way for you to add games to the Mvsx, utilizing, you know, the Final Burn Alpha emulator. And, you know, most games that run under Final Burn Alpha will run on the Hylo, under the Hylo hack. Most games will, but see, the thing is, Final Burn Alpha is kind of limited in and of itself. There's only so much that they can do with Final Burn Alpha. It's almost like, you know, if you love the types of games that you can run through the Final Burn Alpha emulator, then it's great for the Mvsx, because you can, I mean, you're not, you know, you're not restricted in that way, except there are certain games that will have issues. We could talk a little bit about the fact that games like, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles won't run because there's issues with, you know, being able to access the controls. It's kind of a weird situation. I think it's because you can't add coins. Okay, and here we go. So the hack is basically opening up a menu that allows a system of choice, Mini, ASP, Mvsx, to sideload, soft mod your system. Point is, you don't have to worry about bricking your system. Exactly. It's completely safe, and you can uninstall it so easily if you need to. It's not even a problem. There were some people mentioning on one of the chat boards in regards to this that I seen prior to the live stream, that they were asking questions about the idea that you could, you know, if, say, Unico were to start releasing official packs for this, that it would interfere with the Hylo hack, or it would erase the Hylo hack, and you wouldn't be able to use the Hylo hack. And one of, you know, the conclusions I came to was, by creating something that can coexist with the Mvsx software and doesn't actually interfere with it per se, it shouldn't stop Unico from being able to add official packs while coexisting with the Hylo hack. Now, Hylo team, you guys correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that sounds to me like a really, you know, like yeah, they'll be able to peacefully coexist if they put out an official pack. You'd be able to add new games. Like I heard somebody mentioning the possibility of Xeno Crisis being added to the Mvsx. If that were to ever happen, that would of course be a separate game that you could add. And once you add Xeno Crisis, that's not going to automatically cancel out, you know, the Hylo hack. So let's see here. Old Man Ruckus says, so our next update may stop you from installing Hylo Stick, but it won't delete it. Okay, well, that's good to know. That's nice clarification. So I guess if you wanna keep using Hylo hack, just don't remove it from your system whenever you update. What do we got here? I'm just frustrated for you guys because you have provided a tool like others have, Hack Chi, Auto Bleemers Project, Lunar, etc., and nothing happens to them. You know, I was going to bring that up. Thank you so much for that, Derek, because that was something that, to me, I think about that all the time. Hack Chi, with the ability to go and mod and, you know, basically mod the the classic systems like the SNES Mini and the Sega Genesis Mini, Mega Drive Mini, those kinds of things. Yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you want, and it goes even deeper with those systems because they're using RetroArch, and you're able to basically add a lot more. It's not just Final Burn Alpha. I mean, you can literally add all your arcade games. You can add PlayStation games. You can add. It's really expansive, and again, because you can use RetroArch as a front end, it's kind of like RetroArch just opens the door to so many different things. But again, RetroArch has been out there for a long time. RetroArch has been in the community for forever, and basically it's like that is a tool that allows all these kinds of things. And I was kind of excited because I was thinking, my God, if we could have a version of RetroArch for the Hylo hack, we could probably take advantage of all of those additional cores and maybe able to run more stuff and maybe be able to add certain things better. I don't know. I'm not sure, but let's see here. Okay, I believe it all started because there was never an intention to add more games to the system. NGM and ASP. Mvsx is a different story. There was documentation clearly saying there was an intent. Yeah, I remember hearing prior to ordering the Mvsx that the ability to add more games was something that was being strongly considered. I mean, I remembered reading some articles somewhere. I don't know if it ended up being true. And I noticed too that a lot of YouTubers who were hyping this up prior to its actual release, it was like these are the same people who later on went on and started kind of disrespecting the Mvsx when it came out. The Mvsx came out, and then they started complaining about the buttons and complaining about the game list and complaining about all the things that they knew prior to the system coming out. And I never understood that. It was like Unico was upfront about what you were getting. So you knew what you were getting from the get-go. You knew what the game selection was going to be out of the box. The sticks and the buttons are very Neo-Geo-ish. So it's kind of like if you didn't know this going in, it's one thing to be critical of it. But what always bothered me was they started getting critical about the very things that they knew about prior to the system actually coming out. So that to me felt kind of shady. We got Xeno Crisis ROM can be officially purchased anyway, just like Tanglewood through Steam, etc. I think, a Xeno Crisis ROM can be purchased, but you can't purchase the Neo-Geo ROM for Xeno Crisis. You'd have to actually buy the Neo Geo cartridge, and it's quite expensive. It's not like you can drop the $15 or the $20 and forget the ROM for Neo Geo. That would be kind of cool though, because the fact that they made a Neo Geo port of Xeno Crisis, I think is amazing. I'd love to play it, and I hope that it gets officially licensed. That'd be awesome. Guys from Hilo team post tutorial about adding Genesis Super Nintendo to current version of Hilo stick. Is it work with adding games from Neo Geo arcades and etc.? Well, Neo Geo, pretty much the entire library of Neo Geo works with the Hylo hack already. I think if it's a Neo Geo game, it'll run. As far as other systems, I think the only other system currently that works with the Hylo hack is Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. I don't think Super Nintendo or any of those other systems will work with the Hylo hack. If I'm wrong, correct me, guys. I don't know for sure, but from what I've seen, only Neo Geo and arcade games through Final Burn Alpha, and then the Mega Drive games. I also don't believe that we would be here if we hadn't blown up the MVSX. For sure, Unico is more than happy with the attention, sales buzz that has been generated. Same token, installed some fear in one up. Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. I happen to believe wholeheartedly that the MVSX is the best home arcade on the market right now. I mean, and I said this before, speaking for myself personally, I live in a small apartment, so I don't have the space for, multiple arcade machines. So for me, having an all-in-one option is cool. I mean, I could have a couple different cabinets. I could have maybe 3 max in my apartment before I have to start worrying about, it being a big space issue. But for me, the idea that the MVSX is the ultimate all-in-one, and it had so many games on it right out of the box that I love, it was like a no-brainer for me. And like I said, I've been considering, other arcades, but it's important to have options and to be able to play the games that you like and not feel like you're being hindered for any other reason. So I think, official game packs through retail would be the best way to go for Unico moving forward. Nothing happened to MMC Hackchi because they didn't load it with ROMs. Okay, again, let's just address that briefly, because I've talked about the ROM situation several times, and the thing that bothers me about the ROM thing is this was never about ROMs. This was never about ROMs for the team, for the Hylo team. This was never about ROMs for anybody. You can get ROMs anywhere on the internet. Raspberry Pi images are filled to the brim with ROM images. So if you're going to use the argument that the whole thing is because of the ROM images, I gotta disagree. I don't think ROMs are the cause of the problem, because there's so many different ways to get it. You literally can go on the Internet Archive and download any ROMs you want for virtually any retro system, arcade or otherwise, in existence. And it's all there. It's all there in a nice archive for you to download and do whatever you want with it. So I'm not understanding this obsession with the ROMs. It's not about ROMs unless the only time it becomes about ROMs. And again, I'm going to clarify here. The only time it becomes about ROMs is if you create a product and you are selling the product and you are making a profit from the product and you are using games that are not licensed. That's when it becomes a problem. The Hylo team was not making any money from this hack. They were not selling it. They were not, profiting from it. They did it just simply for educational purposes for the community. So to me, there is no argument as far as the ROM situation goes, because they're not selling anything. They aren't trying to make money off of it. And clearly, if you buy an MVSX, you want to be able to have more games on your arcade. And again, Unico, it was hinting at it early on that you're going to be able to add more games. And I mean, as long as you have an arcade with a USB option, somebody's going to come along with the idea and the ability for you to somehow sideload. So that's why I struggle so much when I hear people say things like, "Oh, if they didn't include the ROMs with the pack, there wouldn't be any of this issue." No, there would have been an issue. Somebody would have raised the issue at some point, somehow, somewhere, because that's what it's always about. So there's always an issue with somebody when somebody comes out with something that gives you the ability to do something that makes one product look better than another product. And that's exactly what happened here. Pretty much all of YouTubers. Yep. And let's see. I'm trying to catch up with the chat here. Caleb Mitchell says, I hope I have good news. I am now a member of Nerdy in Many Ways channel. Good for you. That is awesome. You know, that is awesome. Nerdy in Many Ways is an awesome dude, and it's good to be a member of his channel. I'm also a member of his channel. Okay, Noel Martin says, hello, everyone. Neil Severa, nobody was looking at the ASP or the mini work, at least as a financial threat. Exactly. That's another element too. That's another element too. The work on that, thank you so much. The work on those products, you know, is fantastic. Now, I will admit I was ready to buy an Arcade Stick Pro, and then the Mvsx was announced. And that's when I said, okay, well, I've got a Raspberry Pi, I've got this, I've got that. I don't really need another arcade stick. I've got, plenty of ways to play these games on my TV or to play these things on a little mini monitor or whatever. But the reality is, once the Mvsx was announced, I was stoked. I'm like, okay, great. I'll get that instead. I'll just wait and get that instead of the Arcade Stick Pro. And I don't regret it. I think the Mvsx is a beautiful cabinet, and I'm happy to have purchased it, and I'm going to continue to promote it and, tout the accomplishments of the great Hylo team, for as long as I can, because I think that, it's all about getting the message out there and being positive about everything. Hey, P-Dubs, welcome. Hello, it's good to see you. Man, I love you guys' stuff too. It was P-Dubs that basically convinced me that it was a good idea to get that, that arcade Legends Gamer mini Tetris cabinet. So I'm all in for that. That's gonna be my other cabinet. So I'm excited for that. I'm actually looking forward to that in a lot of ways as well. But I'm an Mvsx guy for life, I have to say. Let's see what we got here. Only happened as soon as the sales went up for Mvsx. Yes, Ashley, that is correct. Again, you're seeing people buying this cabinet now. This cabinet is actually a competitor now. At first, I don't think it was being taken seriously, to tell you the truth. I think people were like, oh, okay, that's a cool cabinet, whatever. But I'm like, how do you not take a cabinet like that seriously that comes out of the box with 50 games? Even before, the Hylo hack, even before, the idea that, the notion that you're going to eventually be able to add, games. I mean, it's like, look, man, if you don't love those 50 games that come with the Mvsx, then you're not the market that, they're targeting at all. They're targeting fans of those games, people who are nostalgic for Neo-Geo. The versatility and compatibility that was flexed upon introduction of Hylo Stick X on the Mvsx created a threat financial to what OneUp had not even considered a competitor. 100%. 100%. You opened, basically, it made the Mvsx a more appealing option, because when you can go and you can get the Mvsx and you can already play 50 games out of the box, if you're a fan of those games, that already puts it above like an arcade one-up cabinet. But then when you add the Hylo hack and you add the ability to add some of these additional titles that run better on the Mvsx than they do on a dedicated arcade one-up cabinet, you really have some competition there now. Because am I gonna play X-Men versus Street Fighter on the Mvsx, or am I gonna go ahead now and turn around and buy a whole other dedicated X-Men versus Street Fighter cabinet from Arcade One Up? Not really, especially when there's a lot of criticisms being leveled at Arcade One Up for the way some of the emulation has been handled for those games as well. So that's where we are with that. Um, let's see here. It's interesting though, the demographic or consumer base for the 3/4 arcade machines are building arcades. How many arcades did you ever visit with 20 Pac-Man machines? Nothing else. Exactly. Exactly. Look. I'm gonna make a confession. Okay, when Arcade One Up started putting out Pac-Man machines, I was kind of excited at first because I was a fan of Pac-Man. I like Pac-Man, but again, because I live in a small environment, I wasn't looking at getting a full cabinet, especially because it only had a few games on it and whatever. But when they came out with the Arcade One Up Countercade that had Pac-Man and a bunch of games on it, I was like, oh, that would be cool. I'll get that. And then I can, play the Pac-Man. So I ended up getting that Arcade One Up Pac-Man. I got it discounted. I think it was on sale on Walmart for like $99 at the time. So I bought the Arcade One Up Countercade. I had it for a couple of months, and I ended up gifting it to someone. And I can honestly say I don't regret doing that. I don't regret giving it away, gifting it, because to me, I thought it was okay. It was cool. It was a cute novelty. But in the end, it's not something I want to keep because it's not something I'm going to continue to play over and over and over, which with the Mvsx, I'm going to play that cabinet daily for probably forever because it's so much fun and it's so awesome. And that's what it is. When you have something that has that natural appeal, that appeals to you as a fan and for your nostalgia and for things that make you, things that make you excited that you liked growing up or things that you're into now. That can't be beat. That's one of the main reasons why we're living at a point where nostalgia is kind of king. And that's what we're being marketed, and that's what we're being fed constantly. And we've got P-Dubs. I'm in trouble now. The Tetris, heck yeah, man. That is going to be a dope little cabinet. Yes, dude, I will say I was skeptical of AtGames at first because as everybody knows, AtGames doesn't necessarily have the best reputation. They didn't have moving a couple years ago. Let's be honest. They were known for garbage. That's what they were. But they've since stepped it up and they've started creating more compelling products, started creating stuff that you would actually be interested in as a consumer and as a fan of games. And they're doing all kinds of cool things. They're trying to step up. And I applaud them for that. I think that that's wonderful. And, that's why I say I never bought anything, AtGames arcade related. I skipped the Gaming Legends Ultimate, the control panel and the mini and all that stuff. But the Tetris cab for me was just too good of a opportunity to pass up. Especially with the deal that they were going. I think it was something like you put down $20 and then it ends up being like a $300 cabinet. You can't really beat that. You really can't. Not with, the price point of these arcades today and with everything that you get there. And by the way, AtGames also does have the ability for you to, of course, bring your own games, which is actually a selling point of a lot of these AtGames products. So I think that's why one of the reasons why I thought it was so hypocritical to go after the Mvsx, because the Mvsx had a way to bring your own games, so to speak, although in a limited way. But then you have products like these AtGames machines that have been touting and using as a selling point that you can bring your own games for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. That's a great thing. And I think that all of these companies should adopt some sort of idea and should championing the idea of being able to add your own games. Because like I said, being able to get these games is not a difficult task at all. You can get these games from anywhere on the internet. So it shouldn't be an issue. as long as you're not selling the games. If you're not profiting, you should be completely fine. It really is a gray area, so to speak. What do we have? We have Mvsx, the original arcade machine, was a threat to other companies in the same way that Mvsx seems to be threatening OneUp. Operators were able to quickly swap carts and marquees, and bammo, new profits. Yes, yes, I will never forget being a kid and going into like a restaurant, or going to like an amusement park or a carnival, and seeing the Neo-Geo big red cab, and seeing that you had the options from the start of being able to play play what games were available at the time. And it was always so much fun. It was always like, and I don't know about any of you in the chat, but is it not true, as a kid, didn't we all at some point dream about always being able to actually own an arcade machine? I mean, who as a kid who's in this community never thought about that? Always growing up. I mean, because for me it was the Neo Geo Red Cabinet and Mortal Kombat. Those were the machines that I dreamt about. Like, oh my god, I wish I could have those machines. And now, now that that's a reality, you can have those machines. It's insane. It's such a great time, such a great time to be alive. Zohar, welcome, buddy. Neil before Zod. It's good to see you, man. It is good to see you. I said earlier, I had my little conversation, my little private conversation with Retro Ralph, and I think we're okay. I don't think Retro Ralph hates my guts. I'm happy that him and I were able to find some common ground and have a discussion. He apologized to me. I apologized to him. I think it's cool. I'm happy, and I did see his coffee talk earlier today, and I think he did a good job. He said a lot of good things. He really covered a lot of ground today. No need to buy another cabinet. Yeah, I agree. I think if you want one dedicated cabinet, the Mvsx is perfect. And like I say, if we could figure out a way to get if we could figure out a way to get more, add a more emulation capabilities, like I said, like RetroArch, that would allow you to add more games that aren't necessarily final burn alpha, that'd be tops. Wonderful. Let's see here. The Tetris cab will look like a giant Game Boy. I don't know. I think the Tetris cab looks kind of cute, to be honest with you. I mean, and I know exactly where I'm going to put it too. It just has this real, just this real cute aesthetic to it. I don't know. It's hard not to. It's hard not to like it. It just has this little, it has this really nifty retro look about it that just kind of appeals to me. I don't know, kind of like I'm not as cool as the Mvsx, big red look by any means, but it's definitely, I think, a cute little arcade to have, from like a showpiece, perspective. Let's see. Neil Severa says, so I hope Unico starts selling game packs and encourage people to shift towards Mvsx versus OneUp when making their arcade purchase decisions. Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. I think if Unico could do this right, there's potential for them to not even have to keep making new models. They could just keep pumping out the Mvsx and just keep offering different options, different game options for people. That in and of itself for me would be the most glorious option for everybody here. Let's see, where are we at here? I kind of lost my place in the chat. Hold on for a second. Okay, I found it here. Truly sad when you look at it as a whole. I don't know. I'm not really sad right now. I'm kind of looking at things as technology is going to continue to progress things as long as there's people willing to develop the new technology and there's people willing to accept it and utilize it. And I think the Hilo team, if we can learn anything from this whole Mvsx Hilo hack situation, it's that you're going to always have people in the community that are going to be working for the betterment of the community and are going to be trying to provide, tools that virtually anybody could use. Because I don't know about you guys, but if the Hilo hack was any simpler of an option, I mean, it literally is just a matter of drag and drop, plugging into your system. It's ridiculous how easy it is. JD said on the One Up stream, we can't compete with that when referring to 50 titles on the Mvsx due to the licensing cost investments. Yeah. Well, you got to remember also too, the Arcade One Up, they wanted to do a NEO-GEO cabinet with 3 King of Fighters titles on it. And I'm pretty sure if that actually came out, it would have been in the style of, like, say, the red cabinet, like the Mvsx, but it would have just had 3 games on it, 4 games tops. And aren't we glad that that didn't happen? That's all I got to say about that, because the reality is if we would have got that, then the Mvsx might not have come to pass. If they do, people will. 2 reasons why. 1, money, and more cabinet space in the homes. That's what I think it's about. Space is a premium. If you don't have the space in your home to house, between 10 and 20 arcade cabinets, I see all these YouTubers that have rooms full of arcade one-ups. And then when they say things like, well, I don't know if my wife will let me buy another one, I just start cracking up, because I'm like, how in the hell were you able to get that many arcade one-ups in the first place? I mean, is it really that hard? I mean, I could see the idea of the business model of what they're trying to do now, where they want to release these legacy cabinets so you can start kind of doing away with, all these other cabinets that you have. So it's like, instead of having 5 cabinets, you have 2, because you have a legacy. You have legacy cabinets that covers all those games. But that's still not enough. When you have the Mvsx that is 50 games out of the box without any Hilo hack whatsoever. I mean, come on, man. I keep saying this. These arcade packs, when Unico starts coming out with these packs of games, that's going to be it. That's going to be a game changer. For real. It's going to be like, people are going to be like, why should I buy a whole nother cabinet when I can just keep buying these packs for the arcade cabinet that I already have? Ashley Wing says, I also think these are targeted to people who love to mod and mess around. Your average consumer isn't going to spend $500 on a retro cab. They must know that people will go to town on these cabs. Yeah, that's a good point. People did with the one-up cabs, not a peep of complaints from there. And there we have P-Dubs. Oh my God, Zohar needs to be his channel moniker, Kneel Before Zod. Love it. Yes, I love it too. Everybody says Kneel Before Zod because I took the name Zod, and because I like to write, I put writer in front of it to create my online persona, and I've used it ever since. I've used it for years and years, and it just kind of stuck to me. So I love it too. So thank you for that, Zohar. And we have here, I do want to clear one thing up. JD on that same stream said or alluded to the idea that we were selling Hylo stick. Let's be clear, we never sold or profited from any of the work we did with Hylo stick. Exactly. And I said that earlier. You never did. The Hylo team is not responsible for what people choose to do once the Hylo stick software is out there. It's just like with It's just like with the Raspberry Pi images. You could go and you could download 128 gigabyte RetroPie image, flash it to a bunch of micro SD cards, and then dump those micro SD cards on Etsy or eBay or even Amazon and charge whatever you want to charge for it. And there's people out there, because they don't have the technical know-how to do it themselves, that are actually going to be willing to pay for it. And there's always going to be a market for something that people are willing to pay for. So I agree. It's not fair for anybody to try and push that off on the Hylo team. Okay. The Hylo team, they're performing a public service. They're performing something positive for the community. If you're techno-savvy and you know how, and you can follow simple instructions, you don't even have to really be all that techno-savvy. The Hylo stick, like I said, is one of the easiest hacks, period. I've never seen anything so simple. Even the hack hack for those retro consoles, for those little minis, was crazy, because you had to flash the kernel of the system, then you had to download all this, and then you had to add the ROMs. It was a pain. It was a mess. It was a lot to do. With the Hylo hack, you dragged, you dropped, you unplugged it from your computer, and you plugged it in the machine, and you were good to go. Doesn't get much simpler than that. And honestly, it just is remarkable how easy it is, on the community end of it. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful work. I mentioned this in some discussions. Hylo never sold or profited. Yeah, exactly. Again, they never did. And that's the absolute truth. Hylo is totally innocent in that regard completely. They just created the work, put it out there for people to consume. What people chose to do with it when they get it. You're always going to have people like that, though, that are going to look at it and look at ways to exploit it to make a quick buck. And you can't blame the creators of the option on people selling it, because people are going to do what they're going to do. You literally have no control over that whatsoever. And Zohar says, I can't wait for MK to come out already so I can disappear from every stream and every community page ever. Imagine the joy. It will be a worldwide celebration. Zohar, I am with you. I am a huge Mortal Kombat fan as well. I have the little Play Minimal arcade cabinet in the corner that that the Wicked Gamer and Collector was promoting for quite a while. It's the cutest little cabinet, and it lets you play Mortal Kombat on it. When it becomes possible, I'm with you here. When it becomes possible to play Mortal Kombat on the Mvsx, yeah, all bets are off. I mean, because I am not going to be concerned with trying to get a Mortal Kombat cabinet from Arcade 1-Up. I'm not interested. I don't want their legacy cab or anything like that. It just isn't appealing to me. But if there's a way to do it on the Mvsx, and that becomes a possibility, I'm going to be all in 100%, man. And we got, has your team ever considered working with either MMC team or Hack G team, or if you haven't already? That's an interesting question. That's for the Hylo team to answer. If you've ever worked with any other teams on any other hacks, I don't know. I can't answer that question. P-Dubs, if they weren't selling it, who cares then? LOL. Were other parties upset just because it existed? I don't know much about what's going on. Yeah. No, they weren't. P-Dubs, they weren't selling it. There was no money exchanged. It was just simply something they did for the community. I don't know why. And again, well, I do know why, because Arcade 1-Up was obviously starting to feel threatened by the existence of the Hylo hack. I think, again, and you know what? In a way, I can't really blame them for feeling a little bit threatened, because, to be honest with you, it does run the, a lot of these Capcom games, better than an arcade 1-up. I mean, I've seen arcade 1-ups and the X-Men versus Street Fighter cabinet. I got a chance to play it, and and the emulation to me isn't quite up to snuff. I'm speaking from my own experience, having tried it, but playing it on the Mvsx, it's literally flawless. I don't know. I don't, and I don't think that I'm biased. I just think that it just comes from honesty and from experience, from a user experience point of view. When you get a chance to try something out and you're like, oh my God, what I'm gonna pay $600 for a $600 for a dedicated X-Men versus Street Fighter cabinet, when I can play X-Men versus Street Fighter on my Mvsx, that I already purchased, and it's a beautiful, and it plays beautifully on this cabinet. It's like not only is it a financial saver to get the Mvsx, but it's a space saver, and it just makes more sense overall. Okay, and JD mentioned release strategy with their shared licenses. So they work through their plans together to allow themselves the space to make their sales. Yeah, makes sense. Arcade 1-up was hating, plain and simple. However, it seems that Unico is not in that club and threatens their business model. Yeah. I mean, when you put out a product as good as the Mvsx, and right out of the gate, again, I keep harping on the fact that they give you 50 games right out of the gate. If you don't have any intention of using the Hylo hack, and you just want to keep your arcade unit stock, you're still doing good, because you still are up ahead. With 50 games, you're still getting way more than you're getting with any arcade 1-up machine you could buy. You're getting some of the best games that NEO-GEO has to offer right out of the box, and you don't have to put the machine together. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, you don't have to put the machine together. So that in and of itself is a fantastic thing. You get it out of the box, you open it up, you plug it in, and you're ready to go. How much better does it get than that? Okay, and NEO-GEO was always the best quality. Arcade 1-up, just salty they couldn't get the license. Yeah, I think so. I'm not okay with him anymore. Okay, Zohar, I think you're talking about Retro Ralph. Okay. Long story. I was seriously considering stealing an MK machine from the laundry place across from my junior high when I was 13 years old. Wow. How would you have pulled it off? Zohar, the arcade machines back then were like 300 pounds. Like, how would you have been able to do that? That's interesting. JD's poem dissing us and Hylo Stick was just him stealing rhymes from the song You Never Know by Hieroglyphics, but ironic him being a license, a bit ironic him being a licensed guy. Yeah, I agree. But he also did say in my live stream in the chat on the last stream that I did that song by Hieroglyphics is one of his favorite songs. So I guess in John D's mind, he thought that it was kind of a love letter, and we were going to kind of think that we were going to all think it was funny. Maybe he didn't think we were going to all take it as, negatively as we did. But I know I took it negatively, because like I said before, if he didn't do that poem, I wouldn't have did the video that I did. I would not have bothered, because it was just like, but the poem put me over the top, because it's like, now you're essentially, accusing us of being, illegal with ROMs and all this other stuff. And that's not what the Hylo Stick is about. It was never about piracy. It was never about, trying to profit from from properties that they didn't own. Even 1-up makes in and out products. They don't have continued support for their products in terms of expanding the library, for the use of the product. Let's see. And then you said Mvsx, ASP, and NEO-GEO Mini are the same type of products. Yes. Arcade are expanded with new titles, so new cabinets. Yes, exactly. Think about it. Back in the day when arcades were super popular, when you get an arcade owner, he's got a small, mom and pop arcade. When a new game comes out, they don't always, get brand new cabinets. What they'll do is they'll order, they would order the boards and switch out the boards and just put in, the new game, because it would be a lot cheaper and easier. So essentially, if Unico was to do that, offer additional game packs, that'd be even closer to how they used to do it back in the day, because you're just adding more. You're adding more to the console that exists. You're not swapping it out. There's no need to change anything. There's no need to open it up and mess around with the guts of the arcade machine. That's another thing. I've never been one of those people that likes to go in and physically mod machines. That'd be like the bane of my existence. I wouldn't know the first thing about opening up the Mvsx, taking it out, putting a Raspberry Pi in it. Why would you want to do something like that? If you want to do something like that, then just save yourself the trouble and buy one of those pre-made arcade machines online where they use like a Raspberry Pi, and and it's basically the same size as like a regular arcade bar top, probably about the same size as the Mvsx, and you've already got it. You're going to pay a little more for it if you want it already done, but if that's what you want to do, I could never understand somebody who would buy an arcade 1-up, spend all that money on an arcade 1-up just to take it apart and put a Raspberry Pi in it. I can't understand why anybody would do that to the Mvsx either. I mean, if you know how to do that and that's something that you like doing, more power to you. But for me, I feel like you're buying the product for the hardware. You're not buying the product so you can take it apart and mess with it. That's another reason why I absolutely love, the Mvsx and the Hylo hack, being that it's a software mod and you could just plug in the USB stick and you always have the ability to uninstall it if you, for some reason, it gets corrupted, or you, for some reason, decide you don't want to have the Hylo hack on there anymore. It really is like the easiest thing in the world to do. Okay, no, Zohar, you're not okay with you? Okay, all right, you guys are having your own little conversation there. Look out for Neil Severa's new venture, Mad Rhymes and Sick Beats. Okay, I'll look out for that, because that'll be awesome. That's anything that you guys come up with is cool. It's cool with me. You guys have made a fan out of me for life. I can honestly say you guys, anything you guys need, and if there's any way I can help, let me know. I can help you with the hype. I can tell you that much. I may not be all that great when it comes to the technical side of all this stuff, but when it comes to being hyped and excited for this, I definitely love all this stuff. It's fantastic. Okay. And Zohar, you're saying with Ralph, he took someone else's side over mine, so I just don't trust him anymore. His show is more important than friendship. He didn't have my back several times, so I'm done. I'm sorry to hear that, Zohar. I really am, because you were a staple for the longest time on his shows, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to confess something here. A lot of times I used to watch some of his shows just to see what you were going to say, and I'm not even exaggerating, because that's how much you added to his content. So if that's true, and that's what's went on between the two of you, I'm very, very sorry to hear that. That's terrible. I am deeply humbled by all the love, support, and strength of the community it has taken over, and I'm sure it will expand beyond where it is now. I sure hope so. I sure hope so. I love it. I love seeing the community grow. I mean, in just the short time, when you think about it, in just the short amount of time that the MVSX has been out, I feel like the community has grown a lot. You know, because I've always been a big fan of NEO-GEO, and I've always lurked, you know, around, but I never really wanted to get as directly involved like I do now, because I feel like this is something, you know, the NEO-GEO is something that needs to be preserved for prosperity. These games need to be made available. You know, it needs to be as painless as possible for people to have access to this stuff. And it's definitely, you know, and it's definitely great to see so many positive people out there and so much positivity, you know, in the face of all the negativity. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. And Zohar says, I begged him for weeks to tell his moderator to stop blocking me. He never did anything. His moderator is still there, so I'm out. Yeah, the moderator there, and you told me this. You gave me good advice, because you said when I was complaining about him, about his moderator constantly putting me on timeout and a couple of his chats, you said they do it to you all the time, and it made me think, because I'm like, my God, they'll do it to someone like you, who's always been a staple of those shows. I don't know what hope I have. It's like, hey, listen, it's okay, I get it. But yeah, again, I'm sorry about all that, Zohar. You are awesome, man. Hylo team is extremely talented. Yes, they are. They are wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Who is his moderator? Justin, LOL. You know, Justin seems like a nice guy too. Again, you know, I don't know him personally, but I don't know. I don't know who moderates. Sometimes I always thought it was like Ralph himself kind of moderating. I don't know. Been deleting me on 1UP for weeks. Nothing has been done. He is abusing his moderating powers, and he's still there. Chambers will Chambers still being there tells me everything I need to know. Wow. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Continue to go down here. Okay. And Chris says, what about at games? One of the selling points is bring your own games. Isn't that the same thing? Exactly. I made the same point. At Games has been marketing their products all this time, and every time At Games markets a product, one of the biggest things that they like to cling to is the idea that, yes, you can bring your own games. That's why I feel like all of these companies should embrace the bring your own games option. It's just a fact of life. If people can figure out a way to add their own games to something, they're going to do that. So I don't understand it. And At Games, you know, they kind of wash their hands with it, just do what they want. So, you know, it is what it is. Chris, I would have to agree. And the company themselves uses it as a selling point. Yep, they certainly do. They use it as a selling point. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't fault them for using it as a selling point. I'm going to be honest, and this may sound controversial, but I think that Unico should use the Hylo hack as a selling point, because the Hylo hack is that good. I think they should be like, you know what? You have the opportunity to add your own games as you want. Make the Hylo stick official. Hylo X, make it an official product as on a USB, the ability to add your own games. Just make it official and do your game packs through there. You could have licensed games, and then you can have the ability to add your own games, but it's just something that I think that everybody should totally embrace. I mean, because there's so many different ways to do it. And again, we keep talking about At Games, and you know, and like I said, I'm totally in favor of that. I think that's a good option to have. This way, you're not really, you know, the pressure isn't really on you, on the company, because they're giving you the option, but they don't know what games you have and what games you don't have. And as long as you're not selling anything, it's not hurting them. It's not coming from them, but they'll give you the option of being able to add the games if you want to. So I don't know. I would love to see Hylo X become like an officially licensed product at some point, because I think it's just that good. It's that masterful. It should get all of the notoriety that it deserves at this point. When can we expect official packs from Unico? I don't know. I had asked Old Man Ruckus about that, and he said that was in development. So, I mean, hopefully that happens. If you're Old Man Ruckus, if you're in the chat, if you'd like to answer that question, because I don't know. I don't know what the what the release is going to be here. I definitely agree with you for the most part about not having to buy another dedicated cabinet, but remember that the arcade 1-up version of Street Fighter versus X-Men has included online play. Yeah, online play. Okay, online play is a feature that is something that arcade 1-up decided to implement. So if you take the online play, you take the ability to do that, and that's cool. So for somebody that wants a dedicated X-Men versus Street Fighter cabinet and they want to be able to play online, arcade 1-up is tapping into that market. But if you don't want to play online and you just want to, and here's the other thing, there's nothing stopping Unico from coming out with the ability to allow for online play. Unico could come up with some sort of Wi-Fi option or something through a software update. That wouldn't be that difficult. If they really wanted to do it, they could implement something like that. So I wouldn't put it past Unico to offer some sort of online play through official games at some point if there was enough of a hunger for it and it was something that was economically viable for them. But as far as I'm concerned, I really don't care about online play. I'm not an online play kind of guy, so I'm happy just to play the games, out of the box. Hope they decide to release Rucka without the ROMs sometime. Yeah. Nerdy in Many Ways says, how's it going, Zod? Can't stay long, but wanted to stop by and say hi, howdy to everyone in the chat. Nerdy in Many Ways is one of my greatest friends that I've met over the last year or so. I'm so happy to see you, man. I'm glad you could stop by. It's always a pleasure to see you, bro. And I got a couple of 1-up cabs for $50 each a while back. They're candidates for Raspberry Pi. Well, see, but there you go. That what you just hit the nail on the head right there. If you can get it for cheap enough, and you just like the cab for the way that it looks, and if it's not about what the actual games that are on the cabinet, then spending $50 if you already have the materials you need to mod it, that's cool. But what I don't like is when people, it's like people talk about how much they want the arcade 1-up. They got to have the arcade 1-up. They get it, and then they gut it and put a Raspberry Pi in it. And, I kind of feel like, well, what's the point of that? I think it would be more fun to build your own cabinet if you're going to put a Raspberry Pi in it. And it would probably be cheaper than buying an arcade 1-up. If you can get it for $50, you're ahead, because it's kind of hard to get them for that price. You got to know the right places to go. Not everybody has access to where they'd be able to get an arcade 1-up for $50. Personally, I've never seen one available near me for $50. They're always, I think the cheapest I've ever seen an arcade 1-up near me, and I'm in Illinois, and I think the cheapest I've ever seen one would be like on like an offer up for around $250. I think those are the cheapest I've seen them, and they're fully assembled and used. but I've never seen anybody be able to actually get it for $50. So that must have been one heck of a deal to be able to get a couple of them for that price. Love my Mvsx so much better than those arcade one-up cabs, though. Okay, might put a Mister in one of them actually. Oh, that'd be good too. Again, if you have all of the tools to do that and you know how to do that, that's great. But as far as myself personally, when it comes to technically going in there and I mean, messing with the innards of the machine, I don't want to do that. I mean, this is one of the main reasons why for people like me, the Hylo hack is like a godsend, because I don't want to open it up. I'm afraid to open it up. I was having problems with my little Play Minimal Mortal Kombat arcade machine, and I was having issues. I would turn it on and it wouldn't boot up. I don't even think there's a Raspberry Pi in it. I think there's there's an Orange Pi in it. So I opened it up and I was so nervous opening it up. It comes with a little key to open the back of the unit. So I opened it up and I went in the back and I saw that there was some stuff that was that looked like it wasn't, that looked like maybe it wasn't plugged in right, or something was loose or something. I was so afraid. I was nervous when I was messing around back there, because I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. But by sheer, luck, I was able to switch a couple of plugs around and do a couple of things, and I closed it up, and now it works like a charm. I haven't had a problem with it since. So I think it's just one of those things where, I don't want to open up the back of a cabinet unless I absolutely have to. So I'm definitely not looking to go in there and mod it. And I wouldn't know the first thing about going in and switching out, PCB boards or anything like that, to go in and actually, take all that stuff out and put a Raspberry Pi in it. That's just not something that I'd want to do. I think people who do that, hats off to you, and I hope that works out for you. But for me, I just want to leave it the way it is. I'm sorry I'm late. Didn't know you were going live, ZodWriter. I just decided to do this. This was just something I decided out of the blue to do, so I didn't really advertise it too much. Let's see, but I'm glad you're here. Neo Severa, you're awesome. I echo those sentiments. You are awesome. Absolutely. Zohar says it's all good. Thanks for saying such nice things about me. I'm not used to compliments, so I really appreciate it, dude. Hey, Zohar, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody being here. This is so much fun. It's nice to be able to interact with a chat that's actually interested in the topic that you're talking about. I really enjoy this. This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun for me. If not for the online mode, I would have only bought the Mvsx. I'm still so confused as to why John would ever consider the Hylo hack a threat. Alex, here's my theory on why Arcade 1-Up considered, or John considered, the Hylo hack a threat. Maybe it was because X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom, those Capcom games run better on the Hylo hack than they do on the dedicated Arcade 1-Ups. That's what I think it is. You have a group that just for the love of it decided to create something beautiful for the community that is so slick and awesome. I mean, listen, if I have a choice between playing those games on my Mvsx or buying a dedicated cabinet, I'm going to pick the Mvsx every time. Even if I had a big mansion and I could store 10 Arcade 1-Ups. Is there any chance to have the RetroArch version for ASP even by I am assuming you're saying even by accident? Or I'd love to see RetroArch as part of the Hylo hack. I know there's a lot of portable versions of RetroArch out there. I mean, if the Mvsx gets popular enough, who knows? You might be able to at some point even add, add RetroArch, add some sort of portable version of RetroArch and just use that. I mean, who knows? Let's see. I wish the Hylo hack update 1.3 would have happened for the ASP with the NEO-GEO CD and NEO-GEO Pocket. I was so excited about that. Yeah, a lot of people tell me about how great the Arcade Stick Pro is, and I definitely was on the fence about getting one of those, but at some point I just decided I was going to wait till the Mvsx came out, and that was the decision I went with, and I don't regret it. I think the Mvsx is a wonderful machine. Choosing between the Mvsx and the Arcade Stick Pro was not really a hard decision for me. I was so excited knowing it was running the Macross games smoothly. Oh yeah, both Macross and Macross 2 run smoothly on the Mvsx. Great. I was insulted myself by John Dee's poem. Emulation and ROMs started this whole scene and community. I have been playing emulation and messing with ROMs since 1997 with Nesticle, NES emulator. Yeah, a lot of us have been messing around with emulation for many years. And again, it's not about ROMs. It was never about ROMs. Yeah, I was so sad about Hilo Stick shutdown because I knew that update would never get released after that. Well, Hylo team, could you tell, if you guys are still here, could you tell us if there are going to be eventual plans to maybe somehow get this out and keep it going somehow? I think what they were saying, because I think what Bill had said earlier was that it's all in the hands of the community now. The only thing he accomplished, John D., was pissing off the purists. I pay Zhang weekly for titles on the IR Arcade purchase systems by all companies. This is 2021. We're entitled to modify whatever we want. Well, yeah, the whole community is built around modding. So, I mean, I can't understand how anybody, can think that any kind of modding is a bad thing. Modding is not a bad thing. Once you purchase it, you should be able to do whatever you want. I think the only rule is that you can't sell it. As long as you're not selling it, I think you're doing a good job. You're fine. There's a lot of systems now online that they come out with. Hell, even Pandora boxes have gotten into that game where they'll sell you the Pandora box without any ROMs, but they'll give you, they'll give you instructions on how to acquire the actual ROMs. But I mean, yes, like I said, you can get ROMs from anywhere. So it's not like if you don't include the ROMs with this stuff, it doesn't matter. People are can find the ROMs. I mean, if you're internet literate at all, you'll be able to find the ROMs. And it's never been more abundant. Exactly. Let's see. It even killed Team Rucka. If they made the Hylo official with the Mvsx, that would solve everything. Yeah, I agree. I think it would be great to see it as and I would love to see it sold as like its own USB stick. Hylo hack. It's its own Hylo X, and then you could get it, as almost like the software engine that's going to drive the Mvsx and the updated packs. So you'd basically get it, and you get, like, for example, we talked earlier about Xeno Crisis. So you get this little USB Hylo X, and it has Xeno Crisis on it. You put that in there, and it loads it up. It adds Xeno Crisis to your existing library, and you're good to go. I would love to see something like that. I live in Canada. $50 wouldn't even pay for the empty box. Yeah. $50. I don't know. The people that are lucky enough to get arcade one-ups for $50 so that they can modify them with Raspberry Pis, are lucky people, because I don't think it's hard to find anything like that. That's why I say it. To me, it just wouldn't be cost effective to do anything like that. Even if I knew how to do it, even if I could do it, even if I wanted to take the time to learn how to rip the guts out of an arcade one up and put a Raspberry Pi in there, it's probably not that difficult. But the reality is that, you do that and it's like you just got an expensive Raspberry Pi. I mean, you can buy a Raspberry Pi for $30. So why would you want to rip the guts out of an expensive arcade one-up machine and put a Pi in it? That would be a win-win, making the Hylo X an official item to add. I agree. I can't. I hope Unico is watching this broadcast. And I hope that everybody on the Hylo team gets a chance to actually consider that as an idea, because I think that'd be a wonderful idea. Be great. How much money do the OG developers that actually made these games that are getting officially licensed, do the guys that made the games still get paid royalties, etc., or is it just profits to execs? I don't know. I don't know if any actual developers still get anything. I don't know if the developers actually make a nickel now. I think it's all corporate stuff, but I don't really know. So anybody that knows more about that in the chat, if you want to go ahead and answer that question. I thought Fake Maria was done with it all. I heard. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Just call it something different. Bring your own stuff. Well, yeah. It'd be like bring your own games would be the thing. Similar, just something generic like what they do with at games, where it's just bring your own games, and it just gives you the option and facilitates the ability to do that. But it doesn't give you the ROMs. It doesn't give you the games. It just gives you the option to add them, because they know that people have a lot of games and they want to be able to play those games on that machine. So that's one major positive that I think At Games has going for them right now. And Zohar, why can't I super chat? Well, right now, Zohar, I'm not big enough on YouTube. I don't know how to do that. So far, I've got a very small channel, so I'm still growing my channel. But I do appreciate the sentiment. Thank you, Zohar. And again, you are always welcome here, brother. I will never censor you or anybody else on here. Say what you want to say, and I'll respond to it. I'll respond to it accordingly. And I'm reaching the bottom of the chat here. Let's see what we got here. Zohar, you're always contributing. I see you literally everywhere. Yeah, Zohar is amazing. He's great. He's great. You see him in a lot of these things, and you could tell with Zohar that he just loves this. He just loves the community, and it's great to see people like that. I'm excited too. I'm just like, I get super excited just to even be able to talk about this stuff, because normally I'll do most of my content is entertainment related. I talk a lot about movies and things like that. I don't really, but I started really wanting to talk about, the home arcade market when it got reinvigorated for me with the Mvsx. So, that was one of the things that like pulled me back in and said, okay, we got to do things this way. Knowing the update.img password for Mvsx would be really helpful for doing a bring your own games. Yeah. Sorry, lost power and my phone sucks. Hey, that's okay, Neil Severa. It's just great that you're here. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Zohar. I don't like disappointing you, man. You're awesome. Neil Severa, to you, love to you and the team for all the hard work. I couldn't agree more. That sentiment is, I'm sure, something that all of us here are thinking right now. Thanks, dude. No, thank you, Zohar. Thank you, man. I have an arcade one-up with a Pandora's box and an Mvsx. I'm all about how much I can have in those cabs. I can't fit or buy anymore. Yeah, Chris. I mean, again, I like I said, I live in a small place. I got limited space. I think I'm gonna be at capacity when I get my At Games Tetris cabinet. But no, I definitely, I definitely think that the Mvsx is a game changer. I think it's something that really has potential to be, just on top. And once it gets the notoriety and more people go to it, more people know what it can do, and more than half of that is thanks to the Hylo team. I mean, my God, you got to think about this. 50 games out of the box, and then you got the Hylo team giving you more. It's incredible. And Zohar says, I try to support people I love. Man, you are just, that's what I'm saying. You are just full of love, and you support a lot of people. You're awesome. It's so great to have people like you supporting, little channels like mine, because I know right now I'm just a small fish in a big pond. I really, a lot of it with me was like, I sometimes feel like I have no business even talking about any of this. I come out here like when I did the stream that I did the other day, I have to tell you, had Old Man Ruckus not graced me with his presence, I probably would have had a lot more people complaining about that stream, because I did have a lot of screenshots and evidence and things I was going to share. But my whole attitude changed after I talked to Old Man Ruckus. I was like, you know what? It's cool. He was basically, it's like Old Man Ruckus came on the scene, and he was like the broker of peace. He came in and he said, okay, this is this, and this. And you're like, okay, I get it now. I'm good. I can shut up. I don't have to say anything else. So I felt great afterwards. Yes. I love this community. Oh, I do too. Yes. All the real ones, at least. Yes. I wish your channel all the best, Zod. Gotta go beat Bowser's Fury on Switch. Peace. Hey, thanks again, Bowser. Thanks, Bowser. Thanks again, Zohar. I appreciate you being here, man. That's awesome. Zohar, I scored that 100. Keep up the work, Zod. Oh, thank you so much. Like I said, it's great having you all here. Awesome. I was originally looking at an At Games pinball with the arcade stick, but I bought an Mvsx because of Hylo. I have the ASP and saw what they could do with that. Yeah, when I saw the stuff that they were doing with the ASP, that got me excited for for what they were going to be doing with the Mvsx. But like I said, for me, I was always all in on the Mvsx, just because to me the 50 games is unheard of. You're never going to be able to buy an arcade machine like that has 50 games out of the box. And not only does it have 50 games out of the box, but it looks absolutely beautiful. You look at that cabinet and you realize you're looking at something that is very well constructed, very high quality. I mean, it's just a great machine overall. ZodWriter, please try to lock down a weekly live session. Obviously, Fridays won't work with those weirdo game room dudes, but seriously, you are one of the real Zod. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the praise. I appreciate every one of you being here. As for me doing a weekly thing, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, I do my ZodWriter show. So if you guys want to, tune into that, a lot of times, I'm talking about, entertainment related stuff. But on a side note, I do have a video, a live stream that I did where I interviewed the director of Insert Coin. Josh, who directed Insert Coin. It's a great Insert Coin is a great documentary about arcade machines in the 90s, the Midway era. A fantastic documentary. He's a great director. I got to interview him, and it was wonderful. So, if you guys are, interested, you can check that out. It's definitely on the channel. But I am here every week, and I am going to try to lock down, to answer your question, I am going to try to lock down a time where I discuss specifically gaming topics like this, because this is something that is also very near and dear to my heart, and I want to make sure that I continue to talk about these things. I didn't take the Mvsx out of the box until the hack came out. No room, and it's half blocking a TV. Wow. Yeah, I actually have the Mvsx like by my window in my apartment, and then I got it on top. I'm using a space heater as my riser for the Mvsx. Yeah, or seriously, space is at a premium. Neil Severa, is there a chance the Hylo stick update 1.3 with the possibilities to play NEO-GEO CD and NEO-GEO Pocket, or for ASP maybe without the ROMs included? That's what I keep wondering. If the Hylo hack team were to continue, and I guess if the only criticism really was that it included ROMs, which again, I don't believe that. I don't think it was about including ROMs to begin with. And this is why, I think that even if they hadn't included the ROMs, there would still be some sort of controversy surrounding it. Very cool. Best era ever. Yes, the 90s arcade scene. Wow. Yeah. Haven't watched TV since. Well, hey, as long as you're using the Mvsx and you're getting the most out of it, that's what's important. Like I said, I want to do more streams like this just to keep Mvsx and keep the home arcades in the conversation. I love this. I thank each and every one of you for being here. This is great. I've been droning on and rambling for over an hour and a half now, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this stream. But I do want to thank again everybody for being here. Members of the Hylo team, thank you for being here. And I don't know what days work for all of you guys. If I am going to do a live stream every week about the home arcade scene, what works for you guys? Is doing it around this time on Mondays a good thing, or would you guys prefer a different day? I mean, what would be good for you guys? I mean, I'm open to different things. I'll try different approaches. But yeah, I mean, I think I may set this up for next week at the same time. Maybe do the same kind of thing. We'll do another discussion like that if all you guys are up for it, and I'll put the link up. Yeah, I'll do some kind of a poll, and we'll see. I'll see, because I think that would be good. I'd like to do this every week. I'd like to kind of get kind of a community going here and get people interested, so we can keep things going with keeping the hype up for the Mvsx, letting Unico know that this is what we want, that we want more, and that we still support the Hylo team. And yeah, that's all very important stuff. Thank you, everyone that's in here. I agree, Hylo team. You said Zod and everyone else that's involved in this. Hey, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Well, and with that, I will see you guys next time. I think for the time being, just to let you guys know, I think I'll be back, and I'll do this again next Monday at the same time. So it was 4 p.m. Central that I did this. So just expect it next week at the same time, and if something happens, if something jumps off, during the week, and we get some crazy news or something weird happens, I'll do another live stream. But with that being said, you can also catch me on Tuesday nights on the ZodWriter show at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for being here.